Good evening and welcome to the Willard Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Janet Simmons and this is Chaz Mays, and we are from the Willard chapter of Missouri State Teachers Association. Tonight, MSTA along with the Willard School District will allow you to hear from our candidates stand on issues that were suggested by members of our community.
All right, tonight you'll hear from the 5 candidates: Kip Baker, David Menditto, Christopher Moak, Elizabeth Notham, and Jennifer Triplett. Each candidate will get 3 minutes to answer a particular question. You'll see a yellow card when you have 1 minute left, and then a red card when your time is out. Our moderator tonight is retired Willard teacher, LaVonna Anderson. So now we're ready to begin with her first question.
Starting with Mr. Baker for question number 1, please take 3 minutes to introduce yourself and explain your reasons for seeking a seat on the Willard Public Schools Board of Education. Include any leadership experience and personal or professional involvement with the Willard School District that you would like to include.
Is it on? All right. I'm running for re-election. I've been on the board for 14 years. Been in the community for a little over 30 years. Heavily invested. My wife works for this school. Both of my kids are teachers at this school. So to say that we are not invested in Willard would be amiss. Same thing. I want what's best for the kids. I said at the beginning when I first started running, I wanted to give back to the community and to the school that gave my kids such a great education. Still have that same desire. We're in the middle of a lot of transitions right now. Like I said, I've been on for 14 years. I'm an insurance agent here in the city of Willard, and I'm also a pastor of a church, a missionary Baptist church, and spend a lot of time getting to see a lot of people and hearing a lot of the things that are going on and try to do what's best for our community.
Hello, I'm David Menditto. I am married to my beautiful wife, Rebecca Menditto, who was an educator in the system for 7 years. I have 3 small children. They are in 1st grade, 4th grade, and 7th, and my daughter's outside playing right now. I am looking for a seat on the board because my kids are heavily invested in the school right now. We're all at the age where they're going to be here for a while. We actually moved back to Willard for the school district. My wife taught here, and once she taught here, she wanted to have our kids in the school district. I was a graduate in '95, had a great education, great experience, and so we brought our family back, and I think it's important to be involved in the community and give back. I have a small business in the community, so the school district directly reflects what goes on with my business.
Hey, I'm Christopher Moak. I'm the dad of 3, a kindergartner, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. My wife Christian over there, who we've been married for 12 years. When I asked her to marry me, she agreed on one condition: that we live in and raise our kids in Willard. She's K through 12 Willard herself. Our kids are going to be K through 12 Willard. We love the community. My family is actually from Humansville. They've all moved on. I'm the last holdout here in Missouri, and I'm staying strong, and I love the community. And the reason I'm not following the rest of my family is because I love Willard so much. The reason I'm looking for a seat on the board is if any of you have seen any of my Facebook posts, there's 6 reasons I'm running. The first is transparency. I think we need to increase transparency between increased communication between the school board and the parents and the people in our community. Accountability. I think the school board needs to be more accountable to the community. Experience. So I am an accountant. I've been an accountant for 10 years. I graduated from Missouri State. 4 of those years it has been spent as controller or head of accountant of multi-million-dollar corporations. I'm well qualified to handle the finances and the bond issues and anything that comes up as related to the finance of finances of our schools. Another big reason I'm running is related to finances. I think we need to pay our teachers more. I think that's going to be extremely important over the next few years. We need to put priority behind that versus some of the other things that may be more public facing that make us look maybe a little bit better. And then I'm also running on conservative schools. I think we need schools that reflect individual freedom, personal responsibility, fiscal responsibility, and limited government. Those are things that I 100% believe in, and I think our schools and our community believe in that, and I think our schools should reflect it. Lastly, parental choice. I think our schools botched the COVID response. I think parents should be in charge of our kids' mental, physical, and emotional health. So those are the reasons I'm running.
Can you hear me? My microphone doesn't light up. This doesn't count as my time yet. Okay. Okay, my name is Elizabeth. Lizzie is what I go by, Notham. I'm married to Ryan Notham, and we've been married for going on 16 years. He and his 6 siblings went kindergarten through graduation in Willard schools. Ryan and I have 5 children, and they are ages 14, 12, 10, 8, and 5. Come this fall, we will have all 5 in school and in 4 different schools in the district, 1 in the high school, 1 in the middle school, 1 in intermediate, and 2 in the elementary school. I'll also come this fall have 13 nieces and nephews that are also in this district. I grew up in Dublin, Ohio, and then we moved as a family my senior year in high school to Birmingham, Alabama for my dad's job. I attended Brigham Young University, where I got my bachelor's degree in exercise science with an emphasis on fitness and wellness. I'm currently doing my dream job as a stay-at-home mom. And I do teach an exercise class a few times a week at the Willard Rec Center. I've held various leadership positions throughout my life, and many of those leadership positions were within our local congregation. Over the years, I've been in the presidency for the primary children, ages 3 to 11, as well as the presidency for our local women's organization. I have been a summer camp director for the teenage girls from our congregation, ages 12 through 18. I've also helped coach some rec sports for my kids when they were younger. Regarding Willard schools, I have been constantly involved since our oldest started kindergarten here. I have been room mom for at least all of the school age children at least once, and I plan on always trying to do as many as I can just to be involved. I've assisted in planning and carrying out holiday parties, teacher appreciation activities, helping on occasion with book fairs and PTO and Lighthouse, chaperoning on field trips, assisting on field days, and even just making copies or stapling papers for teachers. I recently taught an exercise class even for the students at Willard North Elementary. Why I would like a seat on this board is my kids are my priority. I've always been involved with almost all aspects of their lives. And now more than ever, I feel drawn to be involved with their education within the public school system. In our district, the kids are the number 1 priority, mine and any other children within the district. I care about their education, their growth, their development, their safety, and their success. Next, since I've been so involved over the years at the schools, I've been able to see a little bit behind the scenes as well as get to know some of the incredible staff members. I want to help our district have the most satisfied teachers and staff members. We have to be able to recruit and retain our amazing teachers and staff by really listening to them. They want to be heard, pay them better, and helping them feel needed and valued. Feeling valued lights a fire within them, which will then be spread to those around them, which is our children.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Triplett. All right, I am a resident of Willard for the last 10 years. My husband has been in Willard for about 30 years. We have 4 daughters. We're a blended family. So we have 4 girls. They are 15, 16, 17, and 18 years old. If I lose my thoughts, you'll understand why. I own my own law firm. We specialize in business estate planning, juvenile and family law. One of the reasons I own my own law firm is because I have a daughter with special needs. So that has just allowed me to have more flexibility in my life and work my schedule around my children and be there whenever they need to. Two of my kids are in the Willard School District. My youngest is a freshman at the high school. My oldest is a senior at the high school. I believe her chalkboard says she has 34 days till graduation. My other two kids, my stepdaughters, are in the Springfield School District. And I neglected to say that I am also contracted with Greene County as a guardian ad litem attorney for kids who have been removed from their homes due to neglect and abuse. So I represent their best interests in court while they work to potentially reunify with their parents. So I believe that I can bring a broad perspective to the school board regarding the needs of all of our children. I have obviously a lot of knowledge and work intimately with the special skills department here in Willard. Willard is known throughout this area for the wonderful work they do in their special skills departments. But I also believe that all of our kids are very special. And I also know from having worked with many, many children over the years that there are so many different issues that face our children day in and day out, whether they are typically functioning children or differently functioning children. And so I do believe I can represent a broad perspective for the school board to help with the issues that all of our schools are dealing with each and every day. I've been involved in organizations such as CASA, which is Court Appointed Special Advocates. I've been a Girl Scout leader. I was a basketball coach. I am quite a loud soccer mom. I should say retired soccer mom, and now a theater mom. And we support theater here in Willard very much. And we'll get more into some of the other reasons that we're running. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. And I certainly appreciate hearing from all of the community about what their concerns and compliments are. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2, we're going to start with Mr. Menditto. How would you implement a system of voice for all of the stakeholders in Willard Public Schools?
Well, a system of voice, I would think, needs to be an open door policy. I do that with my employees. Amazingly enough, I don't always have the best ideas. So I'm told quite often by certain other people that there are better ways to do things. Being approachable, validating people's points. You know, I have a certain way of thinking. It's usually get it done, get it done, get it done. But I do understand and recognize that my way isn't always the best way. And obviously being able to just listen to people. My cell phone will be available, Messenger, my place of employment. Just being available to the people in your constituents, I think, is the most important thing.
So implementing a system of voice, this will be the only negative thing I have to say for the most part tonight. At the end of the 2020-21 school year, parents went to the school board to voice their opinions on the mask mandates. There were a good portion, there were probably 40 parents there. They allowed 3 of them to speak, and they gave them something like 3 minutes. One of those people was a well-respected doctor in the community. He had a presentation, he was doing a great job. The school board cut him off mid-sentence, wouldn't let him finish. That was unacceptable to me. His time had run out. They wouldn't let him finish his idea. I do not think that is implementing a system of voice. And I would never, ever cut off somebody mid-sentence. I'm pretty non-confrontational myself, except for maybe on the internet a little bit. And, you know, I just don't think that's acceptable. You know, even I understand that we have to keep things short and we have schedules that we need to keep, but, you know, you got to give somebody 30, 45 seconds to finish their sentence or finish their idea and wrap things up. So that's all I'll say on that. I think everybody should have a voice. I think everyone should be able to input their opinion regardless of what side of I guess, opinion you come down on. And that starts with school board meetings, giving parents more of a voice in our school board meetings. And it also comes down to transparency, letting parents understand what's going on behind the doors, the conversations that are happening before we get to votes in the school board, and that sort of deal. So that's what I'll say about implementing a system of voice.
Hello. Okay, it's working. I love this question. I think communication is so important in all relationships, including the public school system realm. I think this is an issue in the Willard district, and it needs to be addressed and improved, and as quick as possible. We need to continue urging parents and guardians, staff members, and stakeholders to attend the school board meetings, community forums, and to provide virtual options to those meetings for the community to have access to. There are many individuals in our amazing Willard community who want to be informed, who want to be involved, and who want to have a voice, but feel out of the communication loop because of schedule conflicts regarding those public meetings. Currently, board meetings cannot be live streamed or uploaded to YouTube until we are ADA compliant. So that means closed captioning or a sign language interpreter. If ADA compliance is necessary to be able to live stream, Zoom, or YouTube the district board meetings or forums, we need to figure that out as soon as possible to accomplish that. Oh, we have to do that as soon as possible to be able to accomplish showing that we actually value and appreciate the input of our stakeholders, the good and the bad. We need to provide opportunities for communication and chances for growth and change by listening to what the parents, guardians, staff members, and stakeholders desire via taking polls, surveys, providing questionnaires, etc., and allowing those hard conversations to be had. When there's great communication, people feel more unified. We need to make sure that individual voices can be heard and valued without any repercussions. Finally, we need to make sure all of the schools in the Willard district realize that they are open again. The school district here is here to serve the students and the families in our community. Many parents and guardians want to be more actively involved within the school and with their child's education. They want to be in the buildings and at events. Basically, they want to be included in their children's school years when and where they're able to and when the opportunities arise.
I agree. Communication is always key. And without communication, there's rarely success. And one of the parts of our mission statement for Willard is strongly connected. And so to be strongly connected, we really do need many forms of communication. I agree with my other panelists when we say that we can open other lines of communication, such as more social media presence. We can do surveying of parents and students. We can have video links to meetings. I will say, even in the court system, even today, even 2 years after COVID, we continue to do video hearings, video meetings, and I believe that's certainly something we can work to implement here. There's a lot of reasons to have other alternatives than being in person at those meetings, so that people can hear what's going on and be involved in their children's lives, their grandchildren's lives, nieces, nephews, whoever it may be. Possibly some more town hall type meetings so that it's not just listening to what's going on, but going out to the community from time to time and having opportunities for input. I have older children in the community, so what I have heard, and I talked about this last year as well, is that the students would like more of a voice in the community. I do know that they have been working on student government in the high school this year. But I also hear from the vast majority of students that I know that they would like more input as well. So there are several ways that I think we could address that. And of course, I'm always open to ideas. So, do we have a student representative on or to the board? Do we have a student committee? And of course, just opening up the lines of communication for students to give us their ideas as well. They're the ones who are living in these school buildings each and every day. I like the idea of perhaps requesting comments prior to the meeting, not just at the meeting. And of course, a community committee to help with that outreach. We recently had that with the bond and the school board. And so it's always great to reach out to the community. We always have great volunteers to be able to facilitate some of that communication if it's not actually the board being there themselves, just so that we have many different types of input throughout our community. We can gather everyone's ideas and again, come up with what's going to work for the best interests of all.
Okay, when I got on the board, that was an issue from the very beginning, is how do we communicate? We have a huge demographic and such a diverse population. It's not an excuse. We've tried and worked on a lot of things. Some things work, but we can always do better. I do think that with this COVID, we've seen that there are some social media ways and different things that we can start implementing a little bit more. But I think for as far as implementing a true system, whether you're a board member, whether you're a teacher, I think one of the things that we have to understand is there are such different ideas out there, and just because it's our way or this way shouldn't be the answer for us. I said my note for here was listen, listen, listen. I think a lot of times we want to try to surround ourselves with just like-minded people. I think we are going to have to be able to have some kind of an open forum. I think we did as we went through and tried to adjust some of the things when we were trying to change our Willard way is what they called it. But we brought in a lot of diversity, and I think there were some ideas that were brought to the forefront. As far as for teachers and that type of thing, I think a lot of times we have one or two teachers represent the entire district. I don't know how that can ever be effective, because there's so many different places, and at each school, what affects at one school may not be what's affecting at another one. I think we've got to do a better job of getting them in there. And I'm one of these that, we can be meetinged out, and I know our teachers and our staff are meetinged out, but I think there has to be somewhere that there is a place for them to be able to come and be able to voice their opinions. And like I said, without any kind of retraction or fear that there's going to be that they're being considered negative. I think a lot of times, we have to agree to disagree on some things, or there's reasons that things can't happen just the way they would like to. But I think we've got to be able to keep a better pulse on what is going on, and until it becomes an issue. Hopefully we could help be able to keep that down to a minimum by being able to have that voice out there. Again, I think for me as a board member, it's always been an opportunity that we've been looking for to try to figure out the best way. And I don't know that there is a best way. There's just hopefully going to be many ways. And I think if anything, we've learned that there's a lot of different types of communication out there during this this pandemic that's happened. So thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Moak, we're going to start with you for number 3. With the nation facing an educational employee shortage, how can Willard Public Schools compete with other districts when it comes to the recruitment and the retention of all employee groups?
So this is where I shine. This is what I do for a living. I'm an accountant. I graduated from Missouri State. In 2014, I went back for an MBA, and up until my wife had our second kid, and I shelved that to be able to provide better. I worked full-time through all of my college, but I needed to put off the master's program so that I could better provide for my family. I have zero doubts in my ability to identify cost-saving opportunities for our schools. It's what I do for a living. Like I said earlier, I'm an accountant. I've been the controller of hundreds of millions of dollars and the head of accounting of multiple companies. There's no doubt that I'm qualified to be able to find in our budget a way that we can pay our teachers more. That said, I think that's only part of the equation. We have to make a community where teachers want to come. So, I'll give you an experience I had literally today. So today we had parent-teacher conference with my daughter's teacher. And she came up to me in tears because 2 weeks earlier we went on vacation and we bought her a candle. And she loved it. She was extremely grateful. I think we as parents need to make sure that our teachers know that they're loved, that they're admired, that they're appreciated for everything that they do for our community. It's not a job where you go to make money. It's a job where you go to make a difference. And I think our teachers, deserve to be appreciated. I now work for myself, so so I wasn't going to talk about this, but 2 years ago, my wife had a stroke and I was forced to start working from home so I could better take care of her. But before that, when I was working for someone else, that was my number one thing is that I wanted, and it's weird, but I wanted to know that I was doing a good job. I wanted to know that I was appreciated, because the no news is good news. Yeah, it's true, but it's good to know that you're appreciated. It's good to know that the parents of your students know that you're doing a good job or think that you're doing a good job. So I think money is a big part of that. Our teachers are underpaid by $2,000 on average versus the state average. And we need to make that an absolute priority. There is no reason that Willard, Missouri should be underpaying our teachers. And I'm not talking underpaying, and I'm done, so I'll stop there.
Okay. I think this goes back to the previous question about communication. Over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to connect with teachers and staff members within our Willard district, as well as I reached out to some teachers in other surrounding districts. But specifically with teachers and staff members in our own district, I wanted to know more about what matters to them. What are their concerns? What are their worries? What is in their eyes being implemented in a good way, the good and the bad and the ugly? I wanted to know. With regards to hiring and retaining excellent teachers and staff members, we have to listen to what they have to say. The Willard Public Schools school employees need to have their voices heard regarding things like curriculums, policies, insurance, wages, etc. Some feel like only a minority of employees are being heard from each school. When we only listen to a portion of the workforce, we will only get a portion of the puzzle. All the teachers and staff members should have better opportunities to let their voice and opinions be heard and valued, not just small hand-selected groups from each school. All employees are different, and they come with different needs, wants, ideas, skills, and perspectives that could be used to benefit the district as a whole if given the opportunity to share. The district employees need to be able to communicate and be heard without fear of retribution. Our teachers and staff members need more of a sense of community and belonging. There are several excellent, amazing teachers that have recently left the Willard School District because they felt unheard, underappreciated, underpaid, overworked, and I had two even said that they felt like they were in an abusive relationship. That's not all of the teachers and staff members, but some that I spoke to, that is their honest feelings. We have to be willing to take a step back and be honest with ourselves in the district and make critical adjustments to appease and please our amazing staff members. I know many staff members desire an increase in wages. Competitive pay will be a large determining factor as to whether or not we can hire and retain those excellent teachers for our children, especially with the recent increased cost of living in basically every aspect of our lives. We have to make adjustments to be able to provide the staff wages that are able to correlate with that increase in the cost of living. When teachers and staff members are happy, satisfied, and feel needed and appreciated with their job within the Willard School District, they will step up for our children even more so than they are already doing.
Well, number one, I guess I agree with what's been said already, but generally, to answer that question very directly, there are the very obvious things such as pay rates, having flexible benefits packages, trying to think outside of the box as to what those benefits might be, and finding out what is important to our teachers and staff. Certainly that includes asking the employees what matters to them most. Seek out and listen to what are their needs, what are the needs of the teachers, what resources would they request, how is the communication from the teachers to the board about their needs and about what they would like to see in those benefits packages. I think money is one thing, and it's certainly important. It's what pays our bills every day. But the other part of that really has to deal with the stressors that our teacher and staff, our administration, all of our staff, from bus drivers to maintenance to, principals and everywhere in between, deal with on a day-to-day level. Running a school system is very complex. There's so many moving parts. There's so many different types of children, so many different issues. We really do, again, need to circle back to that communication and hear what's going on in the classrooms, on the buses, on the playground, so that we can help the teachers make sure that they are working in an environment that they feel comfortable, that they feel safe, that they feel that they can provide a good education for the children. And yes, absolutely appreciation, to show appreciation for everyone for doing their job, for making our schools the wonderful places that I believe that they are. And sometimes that appreciation should be when it isn't expected. So doing little things. I've managed not hundreds of people, but tens of people over my lifetime. I know, even from personal experience, I'd say we all agree that those moments of appreciation that come when you're not expecting it are often the best. And sometimes those little things make those moments matter most.
Okay. A lot of these things the board has been aware of, and we've made a lot of implementations already that probably a lot of people don't. We've made a commitment that we're going to try to stay in the top 2 to 4 on salaries for all grades, whether it be just teachers or staff throughout the COC, and which I think goes back to probably should also correlate with the state averages. We also know that, again, it's not just what the pay is, because there's no amount of money that you can make that really truly you would deserve to do what you do. You're educating our future, the kids that are going to be behind us, that'll be taking care of all of us one of these days. So you do it because of the love of the kids in the educational world. And we realize that, and whether it is whatever the staff member is, I think one of the things for the competitive pay, we're statistically, a few years ago, 1 out of 5 people that were going into college were going into the educational field. I believe this year we're less than 4% of the people that are going in. That's going to be a major shortage as teachers are retiring, in that we're not going to have that base the same way, because a lot of them are able to go outside of the school district and make a lot more money. The biggest thing I think that we look at is to keep them happy. We have absolutely stretched our staff to the brink. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Teachers that are having to teach online and in class, then they're going home and they have no life. And you guys can attest to it. We've got to figure out a way to take some things off their plate and get them back to just teaching. And if that means making some hard cuts right now, I'm all for it. I think Mr. Moak spoke that, we've got to make it. The pie is only so big, guys. And we would love to be able to give teachers and staff everything that we can, but we have somehow got to figure out a happy medium there and keep our teachers engaged, make them feel like they are wanted, and they are. I have no doubt. And people always ask me, they say, do you think those teachers really want to teach anymore? And my answer is, they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't love it, because there are other job opportunities out there that they could do. So we do appreciate them. Like I said, it has to be, but more than anything, we have to make some hard cuts, and they've got to get back to where they have some time with their families again.
I think pay is always important when it comes to paying the bills. But I will say, from being married to an educator who did it for 7 years, she didn't do it for the pay. That was a part of it, but she loved it, and she loved the kids. She loved the relationships. Speaking from a point of 2 previous jobs I've held in my career at the hospital and Highland Dairy. I learned that your job is as good as you make it, and the people above you, if they're in the wrong positions, can make your job miserable. If we have the right hires, it creates an atmosphere of inclusion. They want to be part of it. If they feel like the administrators have their back, a lot of the other problems become less of a problem because they know they're being supported. They're being taken care of. And if they feel like the board has their back, there comes a point where they'll trust that and they know we're doing the best for them. So, we have a lot of issues with pay going up and teachers going down as far as the availability of teachers. I will say with the retention and recruitment of teachers, that's infectious. If Willard gets known for having a school district you want to be part of, the pay will be a factor, but they'll want to come because it's a great place to work. So we need to create that environment. And yes, the pay will be important, but I think being part of something good, I know there were jobs that people had, they wouldn't leave where they knew they could get more money, but they did not leave because it was such a good work environment.
Thank you. Sorry, I was taking notes. Let's see, Mrs. Notham, going with you for question number 4. What district programs, initiatives, or policies are you familiar with, and how would you describe their impact on the district?
Okay, so I have the 5 kids, and being involved with them, I knew things that related to them. So this was one that I kind of did my homework on. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see how many positive things that our district does have. We have a gifted program, we have an A+ program, we have a district wellness program. We have something called the First Impact program, and that is driving related. We have Tiger Tails, Medical Explorers, special education, and early childhood special education. We have preschool, we have a journalism program, we have ESL. We have summer discovery. There are federal and state policies and programs. There's different things like retention policy and student drug testing policy. There's a large amount of extracurricular activities. There's the Leader in Me program. There's Courage to Report, Trauma-Informed School Initiative, the ROTC Teacher of the Year Award. So there's many good things that help our students become well-rounded citizens by the time they graduate. So with that being said, the reason I am running for school board is because I saw some things that I thought were going to take us in a negative direction, and I wanted to become more involved for my kids and all the kids in the district. We do have a harassment and bully policy within our district, but it's supposed to be zero tolerance. There are supposed to be actions that are taken, but within some of the schools, specifically the middle school, I know that is a giant sore for the community. There's a lot of issues going on. And so regarding the harassment policy, I feel like there are some adjustments that we are going to need to make it so that children and staff members feel safe at school. The appropriate actions are not being taken, and the policies are not always being enforced. And so I do know of a handful of families personally that I reached out to, or they reached out to me, who have said they have left Willard School specifically due to bullying, and that is not okay. We want the kids to feel safe and valued and loved and needed and part of the community. We want the staff members. I also heard from a handful of staff members that they are experiencing staff on staff bullying and harassment. And that is also not okay. It doesn't matter which age you are. It doesn't matter your position. There should not be any bullying. Thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, number one, I have kids in 2 different school systems. So I am able to very closely compare Willard and Springfield. And I can tell you, in my humble opinion, Willard far outweighs Springfield. But not only do I have 4 of my own girls in 2 different school systems, I have about 75 other kids that I represent that are in school districts all around this region. So you name it, Ozark, Republic, Nixa, Branson, Marshfield, Stratford, Fairgrove, you can keep going. I deal with the schools day in and day out. One of the things I do for Greene County as well is over the years, as they've gotten to know me as a parent of a child with special needs, I have a number of special needs students scattered across this area as well. As a result of dealing with kids in foster care, we are dealing with so many different types of kids who have so many different issues, behavioral issues, mental health issues, poverty, homelessness. So you can go online and look at all of the programs that Willard has. I'm very familiar with the Leader in Me program. When Dr. Medlin introduced that, I couldn't have been happier. I would have painted that mural on the Willard Middle School hallway in my hallway at home, just to have those seven skills imprinted on my children's brain every day. The A+ program is wonderful. My daughter was an A+ tutor over at the intermediate school a couple of summers ago. I think the bond initiatives are very important to keep our schools buildings up to date and to secure them. I'm very familiar with the 504 and the IEP programs that affect so many of our children every day. Parents as teachers, Tiger Tails, the summer programs. I think some of the most important ones are the programs that are developing with the Borough Counseling Services, the Healthy Children and Youth, the sexual harassment, bullying, homelessness, and behavioral issues. And I just want to continue to circle back to the mental health issues because so many of our kids are feeling stress and anxiety these days. They need to have a place to go. Even our well-functioning children need to have an outlet, someone to be able to talk to, and our teachers and our staff, because they are the ones parenting, educating, and helping these children with all of the issues that they don't always have those resources at home. So I just believe having the experience of dealing with all those school systems would perhaps give an input to supplement the wonderful programs that we already do have in place.
I'm not going to go ahead and read all of the different programs that we have because they're just too many to even name. We have excellent teachers and staff. And like I said, all of them are doing it for the reason of what's best for the kids. If there'd be anything as far as that it does, a lot of times we are not, what's working at one school can probably be implemented in other ones. We need to do a better job of sharing those things that are working, the successes and the failures, as to what we can do a little better. As far as the different ones and the impact that they have, everything that I've ever looked at, and sometimes it takes a little time before you figure out what does work and doesn't, but I always try to look at it, and when I'm voting on something happening or something not happening, is what kind of impact does it have on the kids? Ultimately, everything that we are doing and everything that we should be doing is what kind of an impact does it have on the kids, positive or negative? And those are the things that I've always tried to use over the last 14 years to try to determine what we do. Again, we don't always win at every one of our opportunities we've done. And there's some things that I can tell you, if I had some information that I had at the time, I might've made a different decision, but we try to make the best decisions that we can at the time with the information that we have. But the other thing of that is I think we constantly have to reevaluate and see what is working and what is not. A lot of the initiatives that we used, school system is changing very, very quickly these days. And a lot of the things that are being brought down and mandated by schools or to the schools and that type of thing, there's a lot of it behind the scenes that are just by law we have to do. Doesn't mean we like all of them, but we've got to figure out a way to comply and still get the most and be able to give our kids the very best that they can. Again, my wife works in the special services department. I see it from every level. And then we've got those that high school went through pretty quick, and they need to be able to take it to that next level. If they're ready to go on to some college level courses and that type of thing, I think we've got to continue to expand that and let them be able to go as well.
To piggyback on what Kip said, it is about the kids. I know with 3 small ones, we haven't experienced a lot of the programs the school has to offer just because of their age. I know my son is involved in art club, which has really helped him to explore his ability to draw. He takes after his grandmother, who is an amazing artist. So that has been an extreme benefit to us to see him develop in that. When I was in school, they had the A+ program, which I benefited from that. And then the bond issue, if you aren't aware of that, what it's going to do for the safety of our kids and the overall improvements of the school. I think the board has done a good job with being progressive with those things and just making sure that we're ready for the future.
I'm going to read this. So this I prepared ahead of time. I'm going to read along with a lot of other stuff. I'm going to read it verbatim because otherwise I might get a little teary. And if I do anyway, I apologize. Please hang in there with me. So our 3-year-old is in the Parents as Teachers program, which we love. My daughter is in kindergarten at Central, and she went to pre-K at North. We haven't been in the schools all that long as parents, but my wife went K through 12 here in Willard, where she participated in everything from thespians to show choir in high school and basketball in junior high. And like I mentioned earlier, she agreed to marry me under the condition that we live and raise our kids in Willard schools, to which I happily agreed. I personally went to school in Humansville. I participated in basketball, cross country, choir, student government, FBLA, FFA, and anything else that was available to me. I even did odd jobs for teachers and administrators during the summer. School, family, and church were everything to me growing up. My dad left when I was a teenager, or I should say my mom kicked him out. My mom worked the night shift at a truck stop restaurant. We were poor, and when I say we were poor, I don't think people fully understand how poor we were. We went summers without AC, winters without heat. Sometimes the only meal I got was at school. One day at basketball practice, I was spouting off facts about what we were doing, and my coach pulled me aside. And he said, I was just like you. I thought it was cool to act dumb. You aren't fooling me. I know you're smart. I know you're a smart kid. You need to act like it. I know you can do better. I went from a D student to the National Honor Society. My senior year, I received perfect attendance and the Citizenship Award both semesters. A single teacher changed my life forever. And I understand more than most how important these programs are to our kids.
Thank you. Mrs. Triplett, coming to you, starting number 5.
Okay.
How can Willard stay competitive with other districts in regards to academics, athletics, or other extracurricular activities?
Thank you for reading that, because I was gonna start by rereading that. How can Willard stay competitive with other districts? As I sat down and thought about this question, I just thought it's such a complex question. And I want to say there's two sides of this question, but I think there's multiple sides of this question. You know, part of it talks about excelling in education. We're talking about those staying competitive with those that are already excelling in our schools, and also staying competitive by helping those children who are not yet excelling in our schools. So tackling those two sides of this issue, of course, have many different answers. You know, we've started programs like STEM to make math and science more interesting and promoting the love the students have for those subjects. Certainly, we need to keep our lookout across the country for innovative programs. Communicate, again, come back to communication, to include students and parents in the conversation about what is working for our students and what would be resourceful for our students. I would also say that I would love to see the schools do more to look at the realities of the world and how those realities are conveyed to our children so that they feel that their education means something to them. Can we teach more on a real world basis, make it really real for the students? A couple summers ago, my oldest took a personal finance class during summer school. It was kind of comical. They were teaching her how to write a check. She did not understand how to use the ledger in a checkbook, but the basics of that was definitely more real world. How do you budget? How do you plan to manage your money? I would love to see some of those more realistic teachings, but I think there's other things that we need to address, like studying opportunities, teaching our children how to study so that they can be better students. I think that having business partnerships with the schools would be wonderful to help the schools supplement what they can do with their resources to provide, again, more real world information to our students. Again, more counseling and mental health services. I know I keep coming back to that. I hear the word all the time, anxiety. I have anxiety, I'm stressed out. As an attorney, I'm probably not the best one to talk about stress, but I still hear them say it, and I want them to be able to process that well. And definitely, I would love to see our schools work on their sports facilities. I believe that would help to generate more community spirit and fees for the schools to recoup for the expenses of that investment. I think that would also be important.
Okay. I think as far as the competitiveness, again, it's what we're really looking at, whether it be for academics. I'm one of those, I want Willard to be the best. I'm not ever going to be satisfied with us coming in behind it, whether it be the academics, the extracurricular. I can just tell you that not every kid is going to be that athlete. Not every kid is going to be that band member, but Willard does provide a lot of different programs. And I would really like to see us, and I'm just going to own it. We did a real disservice when we pulled some of the band programs and the music programs out of our younger classes for them to be able to go on. I think we need to make sure that we are making something that is a lifetime commitment for people. Like I said, a lot of your sports will come and go. I'm all for sports. My kids played in sports and did different things. But as life goes on, there's got to be something more to it as well. And when we pulled that, we have started implementing some things back in. But the extracurricular things are the things that makes these kids more well-rounded. I think we've got to do everything that we can to try to capture them with the time that we have them here, making sure that we are providing the opportunities, no matter what it is that they want to pursue. We need to figure out some way, and I can guarantee you we have a lot of teachers that probably have expertise and would love to teach some clubs or different things that we maybe aren't reaching out as well. I think we've got to try to figure out a way to do a better job with that. Like I said, a decision was made to kind of back out of some of that. And I think we are seeing that a lot of kids not being as involved as what it was. As far as the facilities and that, I think Willard has top-notch facilities. I agree. We can always build bigger and better things like that. But ultimately, a building is a building, no matter how much you put lipstick on it or try to dress it up. What it really needs is the teachers and the staff to be able to go forth and put the best effort out for that. And if we keep those kids safe and we make an environment where it's pleasing for them to do that, our teachers, our staff, our kids are going to excel.
I think, in my opinion, to stay competitive with the other districts in regard to all these things, a lot of that is going to come back to one of the previous questions. Do people want to work at Willard? Do teachers want to come here? What do we offer other than pay? Because if the pay is the same, what does Willard offer? I love Willard. We have a great small town, a great community. We're tight knit. We have great businesses. If you provide those type of things for applicants, you draw the best. And when you have many to pick from, you get to pick the best, which then in turn puts the best people in the position to succeed. So all of those other things, while they're great, and I'm for them all because I love Willard, I graduated here, a lot of those fall in line when you have good people in charge of them. So like I said, a lot of it comes down to creating an environment people want to be part of. Everybody wants to be part of the club that's fun. Making Willard a place where the people above them have their back. They know they're supported. The pay's competitive. And if they're getting paid $2,000 more than Nixa, I don't want to leave because Willard's great. That's what we need to work on.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective here. I think finances plays a small part, but we do need good equipment, good facilities. We need good teachers, good coaches. But I personally think the real difference starts at home. We need to be more deeply involved in our kids' lives. We need to practice with them outside of school and outside of the gym. It's weird, but math is really important to me because I'm an accountant, but I quiz my kids in math almost every night at the dinner table. We just need to be more deeply involved with our kids on an individual basis. And I'll give an example. We have a kid in our schools winning, I guess he's in school now, but he travels the country winning wrestling and taekwondo competitions. If they decide to stay in Willard, and I hope they do, he's probably going to win us some state championships. And honestly, the schools will have little to nothing to do with that. It started at home. They found something that their kid was good at, and they pushed him to do better. They participated in his life. They didn't hand off his abilities to someone else. His parents travel with him, and they go all over the place, all these competitions. And I asked them, they go to church with me. So I asked him what he likes to do. And he's like, oh, I don't know, not a whole lot. I said, you really just like beating people up, don't you? And he said, yeah, I do. and I think that's where it starts. I think it starts with our families, with our individual families. I think schools support it. But I think we foster greatness at home, not necessarily just in our schools.
All right. I personally think this goes back to doing whatever it takes to hire and retain excellent employees. We know we have the best kids, and so we need to give them the best teachers and the best opportunities, the best coaches, the best staff members. We also need to make sure we are seeking the best curriculums and programs for our district and get all the stakeholders involved in these decisions and not let money or any other incentives persuade us to do otherwise. We have to find, hire, and keep the best teachers, coaches, employees who will mentor, like Chris said, that one teacher that made the life, mentor, teach, and push our children to excel. We have to always keep the students as the top priority, and our goal should be to help every student succeed in all aspects of their education, helping them to become well-rounded individuals, which includes extracurricular activities such as athletics, theater, art, speech and debate, music, agriculture, and etc. The students are our priorities, and they are our future. We have to remember that the purpose of the public schools is to serve the families of the district. They're to be able to provide an educational and safe environment where we can help each child become life ready. We have to find and retain teachers and staff members who see our goal to have life-ready graduates to help our children achieve excellence in their schoolwork, as well as on the field, on the court, on the stage, or in their trade. We know not all kids will go the college route, and that is awesome, and that is fine. That is why Willard schools and the school district are amazing. They provide opportunities for our kids to become well-rounded, life-ready adults. It provides opportunities for these kids to be successful in academics, and being life-ready looks different for each student, but we can still push each child to reach their greatest potential when we combine excellent teachers, proper tools, and when we work together the Willard way. Also, my teenage son would like us to go back to the Wampus Cats, the Willard Wampus Cats. Just gonna throw that out there.
Thank you. Mr. Baker, coming back to you for question number 6. On Tuesday, April 5th, constituents will be heading to the polls to vote on a no tax increase bond issue to address several projects throughout the district. What is something you think each voter should know before checking yes or no?
First of all, get yourself educated with what we're doing. A lot of people are like, well, we're just trying to do new gym spaces and that type of thing. There's no doubt we're short of space in the district, period. But what we're looking for, and what we have put together for the bond issue, is the fact that safety has got to be first and foremost. As most of you know, we hear about the different things. And I think one of the things that we've even heard, and with people that kept their kids home or while COVID was going on, was a fear of coming back, because it seems like people have just become more angry and easily agitated. There's a real fear there that people have, whether it's imaginary or not. But we also want to make sure that the safety for our buildings, at all of them, we know very well that all of those buildings, some of these buildings have got a lot of age on them. They wouldn't even probably meet some of the compliances that we needed today. But as far as the 3 different storm shelters that we're looking at, you can't just build a storm shelter and just leave it sitting there in case we have a storm. We want to be able to use those for gyms, whatever it be, ROTC, whoever can use those. We want to be able to try to implement that the best we can. But number one is with our community, we have to be able to have a place. Some of you may know or not know, we've been up for a storm shelter in Willard over the last several years, at least twice that the city took it on. Both times they dropped it. And somebody may get a little aggravated at that, but they dropped the ball. We were not allowed to pick it up at that time. So we've missed the opportunities. The next time it came around, we were not even up for an option for it. We're not doing this through the bond issue to be able to say, well, we're going to try to get government money and have it that way. But storm shelters have a purpose here in our community. We are way, way behind on that as far as our community to make sure, and where they're going to be located at for strategically to be able to make sure that we're keeping our kids, our community safe in case of a storm.
After going to the forums and seeing what they're planning on doing with the bond issue, as far as what they're going to build, a lot of it's obviously overdue. Every one of us here are concerned about our kids. And this bond issue does nothing but improve our facilities, secure entry points for, heaven forbid, people try to do things that we've seen around the country that are horrible. More importantly, that when we go to the ballot box in a week or so here, I come at this from a point where I look at, I've heard some of the older generation who don't have kids in school anymore. Well, I don't like taxes, I'm voting no. Well, what they forget is we need everybody. And when their kids were in school, the generation above them voted for things to make it more safe and improve for their kids. We need everybody. This is a community. We need the older generation. We need the middle generation. We need the young generation. You're voting for your future is what you're doing. And if we don't pass it and something, heaven forbid, would happen, we'll look back and go, why didn't we do something? So for those who are on the fence, your friends and families, and explaining it that way, you're voting for your community. You're voting for your grandchildren. You're voting for future people to come to Willard. It's a step in the right direction. It shows that Willard is actually, hey, we're proactive. Nothing's happening, but we're actively working so it doesn't.
So I'll be voting yes. I feel like I'm betraying myself by saying that, but I will be voting yes. And it's not because I think it's perfect. It's because I think it's better than the alternative. You know, some of this stuff does actually need to get done. Sadly, we live in a world where secure entrances are necessary. Roofs need to be repaired, and safe rooms are probably a good idea, or storm shelters are probably a good idea. But honestly, we find ourselves in a peculiar situation. Inflation is at 40 years high. So the numbers just came out last week, 7.9% inflation. Every month we've set recent records every month for the last 7 months in inflation. It's not getting any better. We'll probably start just talking from an accounting point of view. It'll start slowing down a little bit in probably May, just because it'll be a year mark of high inflation, not because inflation is actually slowing down, but that percentage will likely come down a little bit. You know, there's a chance we could see 9% inflation in the next 18 months. It's a real chance, or close to it. Interest rates are going up. The Fed just announced recently that they've already done the first rate hike. If we want to do this in 3 years, we're going to be paying twice the interest because of interest rates. And we're going to be paying, 15, 20% more because of inflation. It's a sad, stupid situation that we're in. These are things that definitely need to get done. I don't maybe think they should be done now, especially given, I think one thing everyone that is voting for this should know, it will push us to a debt level that we've never seen, $73 million. And that's why I say I feel like I'm betraying myself when I say that I'm going to vote for it, but I do think it's better than the alternative. And then that brings up my next point. And my last point here is that regardless of whether or not we want them to, our home values, our homes are going to be reassessed. They were actually reassessed 11% higher this year versus last year, and that's going to continue to go up over the next few years. So our bond rate will be the same, but the overall funding will go up just because of the natural effect of inflation. We'll be able to use that money. I know you don't want to give us that money, but we will be able to use that money to pay down this debt hopefully quicker. And my goal is to transfer some of this debt payment to teacher pay. That is absolutely 100% I want to do. We're above the state average on debt levies, and we're below the state average on operating levies. And I think those two should be reversed. I see this as kind of the last big project before we actually start attacking this debt and turn things around.
Okay, I would like to see everyone take a deep breath and smile because you're all starting to look a little less lively out there. You weren't boring them either. That was wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so what I would like people to know, each voter to know before they vote yes or no on the bond issue, the no tax increase bond issue is, I would like them to know that the bond issue does not increase your taxes, but it extends your taxes. I requested that information be put up on the school district website regarding this bond issue to allow full transparency of the blueprints and the square footage and all of that kind of stuff. And so that was uploaded to the district website this last week. So educate yourself, study the materials, look into it, and just really weigh your options. I guess the last thing I will say about that is to just then ponder the fact that safety and security is their pitch, but we put tennis courts in a couple years ago before the secure entrances were put in. So that is what I will say.
I think what is important to note is that the Willard School District has done a very good job of maintaining an excellent financial rating. And if you go in and do your research, you'll see they have an excellent financial rating. And so although they have had bond issues in the past, and we have one before us, they are managing their money well and trying to tackle the day-to-day items in terms of improvements to our school buildings, expansions to our school classrooms, and of course, safety and security, as well as dealing with extracurricular needs. I do also think that if you go to some of the school board meetings, you'll hear them certainly talk about financial issues. They have in the past had audits on their energy output and how to decrease costs of energy, replacing LED light bulbs and all of those things across the district, various things to help manage their money well. And I do believe that they will do the right thing with this bond as they have in the past. And I do believe this is not only an investment in our schools, but in our children, who many of whom will stay in this community and add to our community and contribute to our community. And that's really what I have to say about the bond issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Menditto, we have the last question. You get to start it. In your closing statement, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about yourself or your candidacy for the Willard Public Schools Board of Education?
Okay, well, what I'd like to tell people about myself that don't know me personally, it's been stated by many of my friends, Dave's pretty black and white. There's no smoke and mirrors with Dave. Dave is Dave all the time. I'm approachable. One of my great strengths, as my brother-in-law had put it, I'm able to go into a room and talk to anybody. I'm a great communicator. That's one thing that's made me thrive where I am with my business. All of my customers are important. All of the people in the school board, or all of the people in the district. That's why I told you I have an open door policy. I will have an open door policy. I'm approachable. You're able to talk to me. I listen. I know I don't always have the best ideas. One thing I joke about at work, most of the time, the things we do aren't my ideas. I get overruled by the employees all the time, and I'm okay with it because it's better. I love Willard. We're in the school district. We're here for a long time. We're not planning on leaving. We brought our kids back because of the schools and the teachers. I want to see it succeed. So I'd appreciate your vote in a week. Thank you.
So I want to end by saying that, you know, regardless of whether or not we agree on things, our school board is full of good people. They love our community. They love our schools. They love our students. And I'll say this, if that's the only qualifier to run for school board or to be on the school board, it doesn't matter who you vote for. We all love Willard. The question is, who's going to do what you think is best? Who's going to do what you want them to do? That's the point of the representation. So research it, figure out what you believe, what you think is best for our schools, and find the candidate that you think aligns with those values. I'm an open book. I shouldn't do this, but virtually all of my Facebook posts are public. So you can go on there and look at anything and everything I've ever said on the internet, and you'll know exactly where I stand. I'll stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions for me. And of course, you can always reach out, and I'm happy to answer any questions about anything. So.
Okay, just like Chris said, I think your options are pretty good this go around. But in closing, I would just say I never imagined I would get involved in this way within the school district. When COVID came around and things started getting weird, that's when my mama bear instincts kicked in, and so that's when my involvement with school board meetings and communicating with members of the administration and school board really started. And I realized it's okay if I try to help. I might not have the same ideas and same hopes as every single individual in this community, and that's fine. And that's why voting is awesome, because you can vote for who you would like to see in that spot. But I am empathetic. I'm a fast learner, and I have a willingness to serve the Willard district and the Willard community, because not only will it impact my 5 kids and my extended family that is also within this district, but it'll impact the students in the future and how their lives turn out. And so I would appreciate your vote. I have a Facebook page called Elizabeth Notham for Willard School Board of Education, and I have some posts on there. And you can talk to me after this or reach out to me via email or messenger on Facebook as well. So thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank the other school board candidates as well, because I agree, everybody really loves Willard and our children here. And I want to thank everybody else who goes out to vote in advance for voting, because it's so important, especially these days. I love Willard. I have been here 10 years. I come from the Washington, D.C. area, so the complete opposite of Willard. When we moved here, it was a breath of fresh air, especially having a child in a wheelchair. You know, I always say back there, not that people really intended to be rude, but they were going so fast, there were doors slammed in our face all the time. When we got to Missouri and to Willard, you know, people run to open the door for you. I can't imagine raising our kids anywhere else. Would have loved to have my stepdaughters in the school system as well. I have said repeatedly that I have always been impressed with what the city of Willard has been able to do. It's such a small community with such great schools. It always is amazing to me, really, what the community has been able to do. And more than that, I love children. Really, I had kids late in life in my 30s. And when I did, it was like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. So I've really built my career around children. Half my practice surrounds juvenile law. I represent little tiny newborn babies up to kids who are entering their 20s, who aren't really kids anymore, but don't have parents to take care of them, and kids who are having kids. It is my honor to be able to help them in any way that I can and to help our students. I'm getting a yellow card, so I'm going to speed up. One thing I'll say about that, and the reason that I'm running and the reason I asked for your vote, is that, you know, many of us are very lucky to have a very narrow perspective of what life looks like that within a school system. And what I mean by that is that many of us here tonight have fairly stable lives, regular income, regular issues without a lot of trauma, upheaval, instability. I've worked with hundreds of kids over the last 7 years as I've worked with foster kids. There are so many families struggling with poverty, abuse, substance issues, mental health issues, special needs, and more than that, which comes into our schools each and every day. Managing all these issues, as well as educating our children, is such a complex process. As a community and as a board member, I feel that we need to take a step back and understand the big pictures that our schools are dealing with day in and day out in terms of making the system work for everyone. We do need to listen and communicate and work together for the best interests of everyone, so we remain student focused, strongly connected, and success driven. Thank you.
A lot of people have asked why I'm running again after 14 years. I still have that same desire. We've definitely there's some changes that are going on. I want to be a part of that. I feel like I've invested a lot into that. I agree 100%. Some of the things that have been said tonight, and I agree, every one of the board members or candidates, I think, have a great passion and want to do what's right for the students. Sometimes, though, our students, the very best they have is while they're at school. Teachers don't just get to be teachers. They're having to be moms, dads, friends. There's a lot of things that are going on, and all we can do is try to do the best we can and show them that there is something more out there. I think if COVID has shown us anything, relationships is a very important part of the school. When these kids were at home, they weren't engaging, a lot of them withdrawing and that type of thing. So I think for our, as a public school, our responsibility is to get the kids here, keep them engaged, do everything that we possibly can. We need to give our teachers, our staff the tools to be able to do everything that they can to make it successful for our kids. Willard's not broke. I think a lot of times people out here are saying Willard's broke. Willard's great still. I came from a small Fairgrove. So I didn't like the idea of my kids going to a larger school because I thought for sure that they're going to get lost. When in actuality, because we do have the 5 small schools, and as they build it together, my kids got a lot of opportunities that they would have never had at a small school. We watched them grow, thrive, and become what I consider responsible adults. There's times probably. The other piece for me, I hope you understand, and most of you have either known me, my door is always open. I've had a lot of you in my offices over the years that tell me a lot of the things that are going on. I think we have to keep a pulse on that type of thing. I think the other thing that you can say, my wife might disagree a little bit with this, but I'm pretty even keel. I don't want to get real excited and I don't want to get real depressed. I think we have to look at things and know that we are still doing a lot of things right. I think we can look at the downtrodden and try to pick all the things apart, but Willard is doing some great things, guys. And we are getting some, not only just local, state, but national recognition. We've got kids that are just absolutely high flyers. And then we need to look at what we consider for success. A straight A student does not mean success for certain kids. It's improving them and getting them and making sure that they have the best lifestyle and opportunities so that they can get past whatever it is that the stigma may have put them in. And it would be great if all of us had the exact same start, but not all kids have the opportunity for a parent to be the parent. And that's just society that we're living in. So we need to be able to do the best that we can. And I think that we need to provide the tools for our teachers and our staff, make sure that we have a safe environment, and we need to make sure and watch those just fly. Thank you, and I hope that you vote.
All right, on Tuesday, April 5th, these 5 candidates will be competing for 2 of the 3-year open spots. Missouri State Teachers Association thanks you all for your participation in this. Also, the Willard Tech Department for setting up all the audio and visual and getting them recording. We're grateful for all in attendance because you show that you're actually invested in your students and your community and your school district, and we are very appreciative of you as well. So that being said, thank you all for coming and have a great night.
Myself, I wasn't gonna do